questions on another aspect of the bus action plan is from Assembly Member Prince.
Thank you, Chair. I'll perhaps start with you, Andy. What is TfL doing to meet the Mayor's Vision Zero aim that there will be no fatalities on or caused by public transport?
So we have a very comprehensive, and I think we've made huge progress over the years with Vision Zero, particularly around reducing the number of fatalities caused on our roads, particularly on or by buses, and we've seen a reducing trend. Any fatality is one too many, and our thoughts are always with people who've been tragically killed or seriously injured and their friends and families. We have been leading the industry in terms of our design of our buses, which are now being adopted by many bus operators across the UK and even overseas now as a result. We have plans within the Bus Action Plan to do more, and Tom and the team are actively involved in that. We need to make sure that we work with boroughs on particularly rolling out further the 20 mile per hour speed restrictions on roads. The Route 63 bus that Tom's already talked about already has some of the new features on board in terms of improving safety, such as a new flooring, no grab poles but higher seat backs, so that if there is any form of incident or urgent braking, passengers are protected better. And equally, we're also looking at how we can do more to reduce the incidence of bus fires, which there have been no injuries on, but nonetheless, there's still been a number which we need to reduce.
Assembly Member, I'm not sure your microphone.
Yeah, sorry. Something that we've been made aware of really is around the Vision Zero, that it seems that the bus drivers are not fully aware of that. What plans do you have to improve bus driver awareness for Vision Zero?
So I think it's very difficult to ensure that all 24,000 bus drivers are aware of everything. My experience of going around to bus garages recently is that there is certainly a lot of visibility of Vision Zero on notice boards and garages, and there's certainly conversation about it. That doesn't necessarily mean that's cut through to everybody, and there's definitely more work to continue to do that. Whether or not they understand it as Vision Zero specifically or around safety, I think perhaps the language is an issue. But we are delivering Destination Zero training at the moment to drivers, which really focuses on what they can do to help us to hit towards Vision Zero. And new drivers certainly are getting 5 days of training as they start, in some cases more, in which safety clearly is an absolutely critical part of that. So there is definitely continued work still on that. There is no complacency by us or by the operators in terms of what we need to do there. But I do think the message is getting through, but not just to drivers, but also to the managers and all the people involved in the decision making, because it's not just the drivers, it's also the people that supervise them and control them that need to be aware of Vision Zero and its aims.
Okay. So what support is TfL giving to bus drivers to help improve safety on the network, and how would you respond to previous guests telling us that in practice safety measures are often left down to the bus driver, with the bus driver really feeling the pressure just to press on rather than actually make safety the number one priority?
So the bus operators are the ones that run the service day to day for us, and they employ the drivers, and they therefore have the responsibility to ensure that the services are operated safely on our behalf. And there are a whole series of measures which I think we've been through in previous hearings around the bus safety programme and the work we've done, whether it's around the fatigue training for managers, whether it's around fatigue risk management systems that the operators have to try and improve those, all of the aspects of safety, through to bus design and maintenance as well. So there's a whole range of activities which are covered, we can go through now, but are covered in detail within various reports that we've published in the last few months that outline many of those issues.
Okay. So the Evening Standard published a report, the latest KSIs on cycling, on Monday, I believe it was. with TfL actually admitting the increase is making it more challenging to achieve the Mayor Sadiq Khan's Vision Zero target of eliminating all road deaths in London by 2041. Is that true, or are we still on track for achieving the Vision Zero of 2041?
I personally haven't seen the Evening Standard report, some of them in print, so I'll have a look at that. Sorry?
I think it was a report on the regular road danger,
Right.
road casualty stats.
I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so apologies. But in terms of being on track for our Vision Zero target, we believe we can still achieve that. Any cyclist fatality, again, is one too many. Very few of those have involved buses. And as you know, there's a huge amount of work with the representative groups for cyclists, particularly on specific road junctions where there have been notable incidents. But in terms of buses, we've not had any fatalities in the last year between cyclists and buses.
Mm-hmm. How many fatalities has there been between buses and
5?
5. Okay, thank you. Again, all very regrettable, obviously.
Absolutely.
Back to you then, Tom. I notice in the briefing that we've got telling us all about you and the wonderful job that you're doing. One of your areas is included bus safety program. You're in charge of that. Can you tell me, do you have any qualifications around health and safety or any training on health and safety at all, please?
I don't have specific training in that. I'm responsible for the team that does that overall. The team itself is got a different range of skills.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, so moving on. What is TfL doing through the bus action plan to support drivers with regards to improving driver welfare and tackling issues of fatigue?
So two elements to that, if I may, and there's probably more to it, but two key ones. In terms of driver welfare, we've done a lot of work in terms of improving the access to toilets and restrooms for drivers on the network. From a place that I wasn't happy with, that had built up over a number of years. We've turned that curve now, we're improving it. We're in the process of refurbishing a number of those locations at the moment that hadn't been refurbished for a long time. A lot of those have got into a pretty sorry state, so we are now able to prioritise some of those refurbishments, and in some cases that means increasing the space available and the number of toilets available at those sites as well, and we've got a pipeline of projects that we're working on at the moment to be able to accelerate that in the future. And that, in terms of the fundamental basics of welfare, is really important. In terms of fatigue and recognising that those things are linked together as well, we've done, obviously we've got the research into fatigue. The bus action plan itself ensures that bus driver welfare and well-being is front and centre in terms of what we achieve. So making sure that the drivers the operators rather, have fatigue risk management systems in place which try to minimise the impact of fatigue from the rotors is an important part of that. It's still a work in progress because it's a new issue to the bus industry and probably more widely to the transport industry. TfL as well is doing a lot of work on fatigue more widely as well. We continue to learn and evolve, and we expect to do so, not just part of the bus action plan, part of the bus safety programme.
Thank you. Moving on to toilets for drivers. I think it was you who said in a recent BBC report that bus drivers' welfare was top priority. Yeah. But we know that over a quarter of London bus routes don't have adequate toilet provisions. So if that's the case, how can that statement be true?
So I think I don't quite recognise that position around the quarter of routes not having adequate facilities. I think that's specifically around the number of routes which don't have a toilet at both ends. And you could argue that's something that should be there. A lot of those routes, though, have cycle time, so the time between a driver getting back to the end of the route where there is a toilet of around about 2 hours or less, which has been the limit or the threshold at which we have set in terms of our the standard by which point we start looking at putting in a second toilet. So within that, there are some routes where a toilet at both ends would certainly be very helpful and are on our priority list. There are other routes which are much shorter where we wouldn't necessarily prioritise a second toilet. If there is the ability to do it, though, we will continue to look at doing that.
Okay. Would you agree that you've identified 5 routes, so we're not talking about the 175, but 5 routes which were deemed to be high priority? Would you agree they are still high priority?
Yes.
They were deemed to be high priority in 2019, and according to the latest information I have, they still have not been sorted out.
I believe that number's correct, but I can confirm that afterwards.
Is there a reason why they haven't been sorted out, if it's a high priority?
A number of challenges, and there are specific answers or reasons for each one as to where they are. Typically, it is around finding a suitable location near the end of the route where we can install a toilet.
Okay. So, only, according to my data, only 6 bus routes of the 181 known to have serious toilet problems even have the capacity for fixing. Most of the London bus routes with toilet problems remain no changes under the new bus network plan. Do you not think there should be a bigger number of proposed changes?
At the moment, that's where we are. I would like us to do more than that, but we don't have a plan to do that yet. It's not a costed plan, it's not in the budget at the moment, but the aspiration is to improve on what we've got at the moment.
In the proposed changes, Geoff may not know about toilets, but I know he knows a lot about buses and routes. I'm staying with you, Tom. 2 of the changes, bus route 3 and bus route 328, their routes will be changed, and they will change now to be routes without a toilet at one end. Why is that being allowed to happen? Why are we having a backward step?
So it won't be allowed to happen. We've made a commitment that we won't change routes where to reduce that toilet provision in that case there until an alternative is available. So as part of the proposals and as part of our implementation thinking on those proposals, we will need to address that and ensure that there is a toilet at either the new end of the route or at the other end of the route before those changes happen. We've previously committed that we will not make changes to routes.
So you're giving a commitment here today in front of the committee in public that route 3 and route 328 will not change until there's toilet provision?
We've made that commitment previously, I believe, to this forum, but in others as well, that we won't change routes where there isn't a toilet provision at the end of the route.
So I think it was you who said that it is a basic human right to have access to a toilet and to ensure that drivers always have facilities within a reasonable distance. So what criteria does TfL or its bus contractors use to deny that human right to bus drivers on over 25% of the bus route? So what risk assessments have you put in place around a driver not being able to take a toilet break or to having to stop en route with a bus load of passengers to pop off? And
Assembly member, I hate to I love human rights with absolute passion, but we've got 5 minutes left in the meeting and I'm going to curtail my questions quite severely, but I still need to do the wrap-up stuff at the end. Okay. Could I possibly ask you to write to the TfL about some of these additional issues?
Sure. Okay, well, I will, let me just double check. I probably can leave it there. Okay, I will leave that bit there, and but perhaps you could write to me with the risk assessments that you've done in relation to having routes without toilets on. And so finally, how are bus drivers consulted on new route proposals? Anyone can take that.
So one of many people that we brief have been the operators and the trades unions. And obviously, because there are quite a lot of changes which affect a lot of people's daily lives, and certainly in the world of bus drivers, there is then within the operators an extensive process of consultation. And we have already received from the consultation responses from trades unions, for example. So quite a lot of effort goes into making sure that they are fully informed and absolutely aware.
Very kind. Thank you. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.